3 events, 7 days, 1 irreversible shift. Between now and March the 20th, the sky will deliver 3 precise strikes to the structure of your life. Not metaphorically, not eventually, this week. And the order in which they land is not random, it is a sequence. Each one depends on the one before it, and the last one seals with the first 2 set in motion. The first strike lands tonight. Mercury, still moving backward through Pisces at 10 degrees, collides with Mars at the exact same degree. The planet of the mind and the planet of action fuse together in water, in reverse, in the dark. The second strike falls 3 days later on March the 18th, when a new moon at 28 degrees of Pisces closes the eclipse portal that has been open since the 3rd of this month. And the third, on March the 20th, when the sun crosses into Aries, Mercury finally turns direct, and the astrological new year ignites on the same morning that day and night stand perfectly equal. 3 strikes in 6 days. That compression alone should tell you something. Think of a blacksmith standing before a forge. The metal has been heating for weeks. You have felt that heat. The retrogrades, the eclipse, the strange pressure building in places you could not name. That was the furnace doing its work. But heated metal means nothing until the hammer falls. And it is about to fall 3 times. Here is what this video will give you. First, each of these 3 cosmic events broken down with the precision they demand, degree by degree, hour by hour. Second, what is already happening in your body and your mind right now that confirms you are ready. And third, a 5-day practice, assigned to specific dates, that turns this window from something that happens to you into something you shape with your own hands. The forge is lit. The anvil is waiting. Stay close, because once the first hammer lands, you do not get to reheat the metal. The first hammer is already in motion. At 1:07 in the morning Pacific Time on March the 15th, Mercury retrograde meets Mars at 10 degrees and 2 minutes of Pisces. Let the precision of that register. Not 10 degrees roughly, not somewhere around 10. 10 degrees and 2 arc minutes. 2 celestial bodies, one moving backward and one moving forward, arriving at the exact same grain of sky at the exact same hour. Mercury has not met Mars in Pisces since January of 1997. That is 29 years. An entire Saturn cycle has passed since the last time the planet of thought and the planet of force shared this particular water. Carry that number with you, because what it means is this. Whatever Mercury and Mars are forging together tonight, your conscious mind has no living reference for it. You have never processed this particular collision before. Your body may recognize it somewhere beneath language. Your dreams may have rehearsed it in symbols you dismissed by morning. But your waking mind is encountering this particular collision for the first time. And this is the part the calendar does not show. Mercury is not just conjunct Mars. Mercury is retrograde conjunct Mars while still within orb of the North Node at 8 degrees of Pisces. That means the planet of the mind is walking backward into the planet of action, while both of them stand in the corridor of your fate line. This is not a casual alignment. This is a forced conversation between what you think, what you do, and where your soul is being asked to go. All 3 pressed into the same 2 degrees of the zodiac. All 3 demanding an answer at the same time. And there is a layer beneath this that most readings have not touched. Jupiter, the ancient ruler of Pisces, stationed direct just 5 days ago at 15 degrees of Cancer. 15 degrees of Cancer is not an ordinary position. In classical astrology, it is the exact degree of Jupiter's exaltation, the single point in the entire zodiac where Jupiter operates at its highest authority. For 4 months, Jupiter moved in reverse, reviewing, compressing, holding back the expansion that Cancer wants to offer. Now it has released. And because Jupiter rules the sign where Mercury and Mars are colliding, everything happening at 10 degrees of Pisces tonight is being amplified by a Jupiter that has just drawn its first forward breath since November. Here is what that convergence feels like in the body. I need you to listen closely, because at least one of these will land. You may have noticed a tightness across your chest over the last few days. Not pain, not illness. A compression, as though your rib cage has quietly decided it will not expand all the way. You take a breath and it stops short, as if something behind the sternum is holding the rest of the air hostage. That is Mercury and Mars pressing against the lungs, which Pisces governs through the lymphatic and respiratory field. The breath is literally caught between thought and action, between what you want to say and what you have not yet found the courage to do. Some of you have felt a strange warmth in your hands, a tingling in your fingers, especially when writing, gripping something tightly, or holding an object that carries weight for you. Mercury rules the hands. Mars brings heat. When they fuse in the same degree, the hands become charged, almost electric. Your fingers want to build something, sign something, release something. They are restless because the metal in you recognizes what the mind has not yet accepted. The strike is close. Others have walked into a room this week and forgotten entirely why they entered. Not once, repeatedly. The mind reaching for a purpose and then dissolving before it arrives. Mercury retrograde fragments the signal. Mars in Pisces dissolves the edges of intention. Together, they create a fog that is not confusion, but preparation. The mind is being emptied so that something sharper can be loaded into it. A forge must be cleared of old ash before new iron can be laid on the coals. And perhaps the most revealing sign of all, in the last 72 hours, a decision you made long ago, one you had filed away and stopped questioning, has resurfaced with sudden, almost violent clarity. You did not go looking for it. It arrived uninvited. A choice about your career, a boundary you drew in a relationship, a direction you committed to years ago that now, under this conjunction, feels like it belongs to someone you have already outgrown. That is Jupiter at its exaltation degree, freshly direct, shaking loose what 4 months of retrograde held frozen. The old decision did not return to haunt you. It returned with a weight you were not expecting, because Jupiter at its exaltation degree does not whisper. It speaks with the authority of a judge who has been silent for 4 months and has finally opened the ledger. The question it places in front of you is simple and unanswerable in the same breath. Is this still true? Now widen the lens. This Mercury-Mars conjunction is not the first in their current cycle. It is the second of 3. The first struck on January the 17th in Capricorn. Structure, blueprint, the bones of a plan laid down on cold ground. The third will strike on April the 20th in Aries. Ignition, launch, irreversible forward motion. But this middle one, the one landing tonight, falls in Pisces. Water, feeling, the unseen architecture beneath the blueprint. If Capricorn drew the design and Aries will light the fuse, then Pisces is the moment you close your eyes and ask whether the design was ever really yours. The middle strike does not build and it does not launch. It tests the metal before the final shaping. The blacksmith heats the iron 3 times. The first heating reveals the grain. The second reveals the flaw. The third sets the edge. You are in the second heating now, the one that shows you where the metal is weak. And weakness, in the hands of a skilled smith, is not a verdict. It is the most valuable information the iron can offer. And the iron is being tested against something very old. 6,000 years ago on the island of Malta, a structure was raised from raw limestone that still stands today, the Temple of Menidra. Its builders had no telescopes, no written language, no formal mathematics. But they cut the stone with such precision that twice a year, on the morning of the equinox, the first light of the sun passes through the main doorway and strikes the back wall at its exact center. Not approximately, not close enough, the absolute center. They understood what most modern calendars have forgotten, that certain moments in the year carry a weight that ordinary days cannot hold, that the equinox is not merely a date, it is a doorway carved into the bones of the earth itself. And they built their answer to it in stone, 6 millennia before you and I arrived here to face the same question. This week you are standing in that doorway. The Mercury-Mars conjunction tonight is the first ray of light entering the passage. It has not reached the back wall yet. The new moon on the 18th will narrow the corridor and sharpen the beam. And the equinox on the 20th will illuminate what your life has been pointing toward, perhaps longer than you have been willing to admit. But illumination requires something from you first. The blacksmith does not simply heat the metal and wait. Between the furnace and the anvil, there is a moment when the smith must decide what this piece of iron is becoming. A blade, a hinge, a key. The iron does not choose, the smith does. And tonight, with Mercury pressing backward into Mars while both lean against your destiny axis, the sky is asking you the same question those Maltese builders answered with nothing but limestone and light. What are you willing to shape into something that outlasts this season? Do not answer yet. Hold the question where the tightness sits, because the second hammer falls in 3 days, and what it carries will reshape your answer from the inside. The second hammer does not strike the way you expect. On March the 18th at 9:23 in the evening Eastern Time, the moon joins the sun at 28 degrees and 26 minutes of Pisces. This is not just any new moon. It is the final new moon of the astrological year, the last lunar reset before the zodiac itself resets. 28 degrees of Pisces is 2 degrees from the end of the entire wheel. When a new moon falls this late in Pisces, it does not plant seeds the way other new moons do. It composts. It takes everything the past 12 months have handed you, every incomplete ending, every half-spoken truth, every identity you tried on and quietly abandoned, and presses all of it into the dark soil of the final days. And there is something else. This new moon closes the eclipse portal that opened on March the 3rd with the total lunar eclipse in Virgo. For 15 days, that portal has been working on you. The Virgo eclipse on the south node was a surgical removal. It cut away habits, routines, false efficiencies, the small lies you told yourself about being fine when you were merely functioning. Now the Pisces new moon seals that wound, not with a bandage, with new skin. The eclipse tore something out. The new moon grows something back in its place. But what grows back depends entirely on what you allow into the opening. This is where the chrysalis becomes the only honest metaphor. When a caterpillar enters its cocoon, we are taught that it slowly transforms, as though wings grow over the old body like a coat. Inside the chrysalis, the caterpillar's body dissolves almost entirely. It becomes a biological soup. Nearly every structure it had, every cell wall, every organ, liquefies. The only things that survive are microscopic clusters called imaginal discs, tiny blueprints carrying the code for what the creature is becoming. Wings, antennae, compound eyes. The entire old form must be surrendered before the new one can organize itself around those surviving codes. That is what this new moon is doing to you. The eclipse dissolved the old structure. Mercury retrograde has kept you suspended in the liquid, and now, at 28 degrees of Pisces, the new moon is asking your imaginal discs to declare themselves. What in you survived the dissolution? What pattern, what longing, what knowing refused to dissolve when everything else did? That is the code your next form will organize around. The timing is precise beyond coincidence. Mars is still in Pisces, still carrying the charge of the conjunction with Mercury. Jupiter, at 15 degrees of Cancer, is forming a trine to Mars, exact on March the 21st. A trine from Jupiter in Cancer to Mars in Pisces is pure water, emotional fuel meeting active faith. The ancient ruler of Pisces reaching across the sky to hand the warrior a torch that burns underwater. This trine does not arrive to comfort you. It arrives to mobilize the part of you that knows what it wants, but has been calling that knowledge a fantasy. And directly behind this new moon, at 1 and 2 degrees of Aries, sit Neptune and Saturn. The two planets that formed the most significant conjunction of the decade just 3 weeks ago at 0 degrees of Aries. Neptune dissolves, Saturn structures. When they fuse at the very first degree of the zodiac, they create a paradox your rational mind cannot resolve. The dream and the discipline. The vision and the weight. Whatever seed you plant under this new moon will have to survive both Neptune's infinite possibility and Saturn's relentless demand for proof. Let me bring this into your hands. If the first hammer asked you a question, the second hammer asks you to answer it without thinking. Not with strategy, not with a list of pros and cons, with the part of you that survived the dissolution. The imaginal disc does not debate which wing to grow. It grows the only wing it knows how to grow. Your body already contains the blueprint. The question is whether you will trust what it shows you when the mind has no evidence to offer. Here is the practice. 5 days, 5 actions, each tied to a specific date. March the 15th, the night of the Mercury-Mars conjunction. Before sleep, sit in silence for 3 minutes, no less. Place both hands flat on your chest, over the sternum where the tightness has been sitting. Feel the warmth of your own palms pressing into the bone. Close your eyes and ask one question only. What am I being asked to release so the new shape can come through? Do not chase the answer. Let it arrive the way a name arrives when you stop trying to remember it. If nothing comes tonight, it will come in a dream. Trust what surfaces first, even if it makes no sense to the waking mind. Write it down before morning erases it. March the 16th. Take a single piece of paper and a pen whose weight you can feel between your fingers. On the left side, write what you are releasing. On the right side, write what you are claiming. Not what you hope for, what you are claiming. Hope keeps the object at a distance. A claim places your hand on it and says, "This is mine now." Fold the paper once. Place it somewhere you will see it on the 20th. March the 17th. Say nothing new. This is not monastic silence. You can speak when life requires it, but do not initiate a single conversation about your future, your plans, or your feelings about what is shifting. The chrysalis needs stillness. The imaginal discs organize in quiet. Every word you speak about the new form before it is ready scatters the cells that are trying to find each other. March the 18th, the night of the new moon. Go outside after dark. You do not need to see the moon because you will not. It is invisible. That is the point. Stand in that darkness for 2 minutes and feel what it is like to stand inside an ending that has not yet named its beginning. This is the threshold the Maltese builders carved 6,000 years ago. You are standing in it now. Breathe into the space between what was and what is coming, and resist the urge to name it. Naming it too early is the one thing that can shrink it. March the 19th. Open the folded paper. Read both sides. If the left side still feels true, tear it in half and release it. Burn it if you can. If not, bury it, place it in running water, or tear it into pieces too small to read. The right side, the claim, stays with you. Place it in your pocket on the morning of the 20th. Carry it across the threshold. Because March the 20th is the equinox. The sun crosses into Aries. Mercury turns direct at 8 degrees and 30 minutes of Pisces. The astrological new year begins, and every planet in the sky will be moving forward for the first time since November. Every single one. No retrograde anywhere in the solar system until May the 6th. The road is clear. And you will be standing in it with a claim in your pocket and a form that has just reorganized itself around the only code that survived the fire. The blacksmith calls this quenching, the heated iron plunged into water at the precise moment. The rapid cooling locks the new structure into permanence. Too early and the metal is still soft. Too late and it has already begun to warp. The equinox is the water. The 5 days before it are the final moments of heat. What you do between tonight and that morning determines whether the metal sets into something you chose or something that simply hardened around whatever shape it happened to find. And you will not be walking into that morning empty-handed. You will carry the fire of the conjunction, the composted soil of the new moon, and the reorganized code of everything that refused to dissolve when the old form came apart. The third does not fall from the sky. That one is yours to bring down. So here you stand, 3 hammers, 6 days, an entire zodiac year composted into soil, an eclipse wound sealed with new skin, and a corridor of light that has waited 6,000 years for someone to walk through it. Most people will spend this week the way they spend every week. They will scroll past the equinox. They will sleep through the new moon. They will let the iron cool into whatever shape it finds on its own and call that shape fate. But you did not leave when the chrysalis liquefied. You did not flinch when Jupiter opened the ledger, and you will not waste the quenching. Here is what I know to be true. The bravest thing a human being can do is not to fight. It is to stand at the anvil with heated iron in hand and strike before the mind has finished calculating the risk. The mind will never finish. The metal will not wait. Courage is the hammer that falls while the fear is still talking. This iron was not smelted in an afternoon. The conjunctions were traced across centuries. The sequence is mapped against limestone temples older than language, before a single word of this reached you. If that labor found the forge it was meant to find, strike once. One mark from you sends the heat further than I can carry it alone. And somewhere tonight, a person whose metal has gone cold needs to know the fire is real. Right below the one thing you are claiming on the other side of this equinox. Not the safe version, the one that changed your breathing when you named it. Your words become a mark on this anvil, and the next person who reads them may find the nerve to name their own. Subscribe and open the bell. The forge does not cool between sessions. The sky is already heating the next iron, and when that strike lands, you will want to be close enough to feel it. The universe has spoken. What comes next is in your hands.